Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division 2 video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Slutsk, and in this one I'm going to be using the Gruppe Harteneck division. Please remember, everything you are about to see is still in beta and therefore subject to change. On my team today I have Music Man, Jaeger and Viper Revolution, who are using the 5th Panzer, Gruppe Harteneck and 5th Panzer respectively, and on the opposing side we have Aragu, Henry of the Valley, Loud and Erismo, who are using the 29th Tank Corps, 2nd Guards Tank Corps, 2nd Guards and 9th Guards Cavalry. So, this is the new map that came with Beta Phase 4, and it's an awesome 4v4 map that has a lot of strategic positions. You've got a couple of high ground areas. This one in particular is very awesome, being surrounded by the rivers, and it also has a bunch of towns as well as some more open areas like on the right side, which is where I'm going to be fighting today. Let me just put it to my point of view and we'll be able to see some of the units that I'm putting down. So this is my first ever attempt at using this particular division, and I wasn't particularly pleased with where I was placed because I don't feel like the Gruppe Harteneck division really has much staying power at range. It can rely quite heavily on the Hetzers to do that, but in terms of like top end firepower, like things like Panthers, they work a lot better at the range here because they have those APCR shells that reach like 250mm of penetration, whereas the Gruppe Harteneck, they are kind of capped at like 190mm of penetration across the board. So in the late game, trying to contest open ground against things like IS-2s is very difficult, I found. But let's have a look at the actual units that I'm deploying here. So we have, first of all, some Reiterführer with the Horch there that's zooming off up the road. Then we have some Panzergrens following up in their half track. We've got the 39M Chaber. We have the HETZER following up here, as well as a Stür 42 and a Tiger. So a little tank group on the right side that is going to try and put some pressure on this capture point. And you can see that the capture points are a little bit different now in how they're represented on the map, which is quite nice. I like these little flags, they look really cool. Then on the left side we've got a couple of Reitjäger. They're pushing up to take this compound. My intention was to have them hold fire and engage at close range, but I do kind of have my plan thwarted a little bit as an A20 Zuchok gets in the way and basically forces me to unload early and pins down both of those squads in the process. I've got a Panzer II Lux following that up. I've got a Reiterführer that was supposed to be accompanying this Pack 40, but the Pack 40 got unloaded at spawn, so I'm going to have to walk that all the way to the front line, which was not ideal. In the center I've got a Pack 40 accompanied by another command, and then also a Tiger E, which can benefit from the command there as well. The Reitjäger that's pushing up the road here. The truck gets absolutely wrecked by the A20. I'm going to bring in an ME109 E4 to try and shoot that down because it's causing me a lot of issues. But it seems as though Aragu kind of expected me to do this, so he already has AA on the field, and then Henry of the Valley is going to be bringing a Yak 1B to shoot down my fighter. So Henry being the sword for Aragu's shield, and well, there goes my investment into my aircraft early on. And the A20 is now free to fly around and strafe everything it wants. So it begins by pinning down my VK901 on the left side that looks, and on the right side does start to become an issue as well as I continue to engage the IS-2. Now my Jagdpanzer fired one shot at the IS-2, managed to get an engine damage as the IS-2 showed side armor. So that was really lucky for me, and you can see we've managed to pin the IS-2 quite a bit so far, but it is going to end up popping my Tiger even with that amount of stress and its lack of accuracy. Hits a nice shot onto the tank and not really much else I can do. But with my Jagdpanzer continuing the engagement against the IS-2, I'm starting to force it to fall back. So I'm going to start charging it now with the 39M Chaber, and whilst this also pins down some infantry, it's basically going for a rear shot to the IS-2 with its anti-tank rifle. Now we only have 40mm of penetration. I'm not even sure that's enough to penetrate the IS-2 in the rear armor, but it's not going to matter as the strafing run comes in from the A20 and kills off my armored car, which was really unfortunate. So I'm going to have to do something about that, bringing in the SDKZ11 flaks. I can't just let that fly around forever. Got to start making it fall back somehow. Meanwhile, on the left side, two M10s have come in. They're starting to put some pressure onto my right Jaeger, whilst the Tanko start charging forwards from the M2A1 half tracks. This right Jaeger is actually in a position where I could put it on return fire, and I do. But since it's already a little bit pinned as soon as the Tanko start engaging, I'm at a disadvantage because my guys are going to be a lot less accurate. So this really doesn't work out for me, and I'm going to have to try and run away with that squad, but they're in a really, really tough position. So the A20 is still causing me issues. Really nice play actually by Aragu to make sure that he had the AA to cover the A20 in the early game, and it's worked out so far. So now I'm going to bring in a commandant that is going to help increase the effectiveness of my leader squads, provide 2-star veterancy, and that's because I've got a HETZER coming up which could really benefit from the extra veterancy, and also of course this Tiger can do at some point if it was close to a command squad. This also allows me to put my AA near these commanders and give them 2-star veterancy, which is really decent for starting to pin these A20s, and you can see as this A20 comes in, although it does manage to kill my looks, it's going to start to get forced to fall back, which is really, really good. I'm also going to invest into an ME109E4. Unfortunately, the way in which my ME109 comes in, it means that I do not manage to get the kill here onto the A20. I'm going to have to force myself to pull away from that. But Tiger E still engaging the M10s. The M10s, they really don't have much penetration chance against the Tiger, so the Tiger's just busy there tanking the shots whilst firing back at the 75 armor of the M10 and slowly but surely taking them out. The Jagdpanzer are also getting into position here, and that's going to give me a solid foundation to get some more infantry back to this capture point. And I'm going to have to sooner than later, since on my side of things I've lost pretty much all of the contested points early on due to what I've come up against so far. So this IS is still alive on the right side, it killed my Tiger. In the middle, my Tiger failed to cover the infantry, so I didn't manage to capture this point. And then on the left side, the A20 just caused me so many issues that I didn't manage to hold this point either. So I'm really going to have to recover this side. And you can see that I have managed to push up my half track and the Styr 42 all the way to these trees, avoiding the fire from the T-34-85 and the IS-2. So I was hoping to capture that point. And I've also managed to unload these Reitjäger here, but they're in a pretty tough spot under fire from these Strauki now, which do have the DPs. So although they are capturing the point, I don't expect them to be alive for that much longer. And currently the Soviets are in the lead with 17 capture points to 15, but if I manage to capture back this one on the left and maybe contest the one on the right, then we could change that round quite quickly. So here comes my Reitjäger. I'm going for the ones with the MP44s because I'm going to try and engage some of these units at range, but the Tanko won't really reveal themselves because they only have 100 meter range weapons, so this is a bit futile really. And you'll see exactly what happens to these Reitjäger as they try to advance, even though they do have what a lot of people perceive to be quite OP weapons in these MP44s. But here they go, charging on. And the Tanko out of nowhere, you can just see how quickly they mow them down. My squad goes from 12 men to 4 in a matter of seconds, and they're going to be doing a runner. Now all of my tanks do open up and we absolutely crush that building, but unfortunately my squad's already completely annihilated. So I'm going to have to rely on something else, and that's why I brought in these mortars. If I can pin down the infantry before I attack, then my Reitjäger should be able to take control of the compound. I've just got to avoid this ZIS-3, which is currently providing HE fire onto my Reitjäger as they advance. My Jagdpanzer on this side still currently firing down the road towards the IS-2, but this IS-2 just not having any of it is an absolute beast of a tank. You can see it just bouncing all day long. And well, there goes my Hetzer. That shot managed to get the kill. Now thankfully my point is all the way back here, on this side. Like usually this would automatically be Soviet controlled anyway, so losing like forces on this side isn't that bad as long as I don't lose this point here. It's just in the center and on the left side in which I really should be trying to capture these points, and you can see that I have invested now into a captured T-34 in order to make a bit of a push here. So I've managed to take back the point with the advance of some Reitjäger, and I'm now going to be just trying to kill off the VZ VOD with that T-34. And I've got a couple of the Jagdpanzers just kind of hidden behind, waiting to ambush any tanks that might show up. Now over on this right side, it was an interesting engagement actually between the M2A1 and the Stür 42. It's really like shows a lot about how like AP works in this game, because although this only has 10mm of penetration and has absolutely no chance of penetrating the front armor of the Stür 42, it still causes criticals and still manages to make the Stür 42 fall back. So if there wasn't this half track here, it's very likely that the half track on the opposing side could very easily just surrender my Stür 42. So yeah, very interesting to see how some of the mechanics still work, and I think some of that stuff still needs adjustment in my opinion. Anyway, Yak 1B coming in from Henry once again, and I knew that Henry's probably not going to be paying too much attention to this, so I just decided to ambush the Yak 1B with a second ME-109E4. And we managed to shoot it down. So I've now got two ME-109s, and I'm going to be using my opportunity here to bring in a HE 111, and this thing has the two 1,000 kilogram bombs. I'm hoping to pin, or at least maybe kill, the IS-2 on the right side. So that's my bombing target here. Meanwhile, my half track is currently pinning down some Strelky at close range, so good job by that half track there with the accompaniment of the Stür 42, which is using up all of its MG42 ammunition, helping out as well. But here comes the A20 once again. My ME-109E4, however, is in position to intercept, so I'm going to be going for the kill straight away. Managed to get a weapon jam with the radiator overheating. It's going to have to fall back. But the A20 with the weapon jam is not really going to be effective until it goes back to base, so I've managed to stop it striking my units for the time being. Now my T-34 is trying to push forwards, has however bumped into a T-34-85, and the T-34-85 just absolutely trumps a standard T-34, so not really much chance there for my T-34, as it does have its tracks broken, just sitting duck waiting to die, unless my Tiger can maybe save the day, but I'm not expecting that to happen. Anyway, my ME-109 on the right side does eventually get shot down, but I'm going to be bringing in an ME-410. So this ME-410, I don't really want to throw it into the lion's den here and go and attack the A20, because there is AA and there is enemy fighters potentially. But since the A20 is going for the strafing run into the center, I decided to use the couple cannons on the front of the ME-410 with the help of the flak, and we managed to get the kill. So really, really nice job there. And then the ME-410, I see the chance to take the shot at the IS-2, and listen to that fire away. We managed to find the kill onto the IS-2 on the right side, preventing a significant push. Because most of my other units can deal with T-34-85s, but the IS-2 with that extra front armor is a real pain to get rid of. So really thankful that my ME-410 there paid itself off in one run pretty much, because an IS-2 is about 145 points, and then those A20s aren't exactly cheap. So ME-410 doing great work for me. Right, now we see some Hussar Goyo Soroshok. I think that's close to how you pronounce it. Still working on that pronunciation. Thank you to the help from Seri on Facebook for sending me a message and giving me some tips on how to pronounce some of the Hungarian names. We have these infantry that are really decent at long-range engagements, so I'm just kind of exploiting them here to engage the Strelki at range and maybe make some ground towards the second point on this left side, since we have now got pretty good control over the one further back. But I also need to take control of the center of the field here, so a couple more infantry squads heading in that direction. Pack 40, meanwhile, moving over to the right side. If the T-34 wants to push more aggressively, it will come into line of sight of that Pack 40, so that should get the job done if needs be. But here we go, managed to capture this point, and we're back to 16-16 on the scorecard. Now I should potentially be doing a lot better at this point, since my battle group was made to be Vanguard. So my Phase A and Phase B should be my strongest points in this game, but I think due to how badly the early game went for me, it did kind of set me back quite badly. I also feel like if I put both of the Tigers on the same side, we maybe could have made a bit more of a concise and concerted effort. But M2A1 going to be charging forwards. I think he was going for the surrender here onto my infantry, but since there's command nearby, not going to happen. And they still have the grenades available for when the M2A1 gets too close, and popping one into the hatch there does get the job done. A20 going to come in and strafe my Pack 40. Jaeger did try to intercept with his ME109 E4s, but it's going to be up to my own to try and find that kill. I do just about manage to do so under the AA fire. Then I'm also going to come under fire from the LA7 that is brought in to intercept. And my ME109 does go down to the AA, but with Jaeger having all of these aircraft, I was quietly confident we would win any air engagement that came about. But so far, Jaeger's already a plane down, and we haven't managed to catch on to the LA7. There's also an LA5 FN coming in to help out. I'm going to be trying to switch targets here with my ME109. But Jaeger wasn't sure if he was microing his ME109s here, because he did leave them quite vulnerable to the LA5, and you can see that does manage to pick off one as they continue to chase the LA7, which is currently pilot panic, so shouldn't really be focusing on that. But I do manage to get the oil leak onto the LA5FN, and I'm going to be trying to continue to engage the LA5FN so that I can shoot that down and then follow up with the kill onto the LA7. But Jaeger there going to lose his third ME109 E4. I do manage to reply with the LA5FN kill. Now going to be going for the LA7 kill as another LA5 does come in. Now I'm going to be investing in a second ME109 G6R6, and that finishes off the pilot panicked LA7. Now I'm just going for the second LA5. So these air engagements are all very important, because I don't want to continuously be strafed by these A20s and so on throughout the game. It also opens up the opportunity for me to use the HE111 and the 410. There goes the LA5. We've killed the LA7. And we're in a pretty good position in terms of the Air Force. Now my infantry in the center, these Hussars, they have managed to kill off the infantry that was defending quite well due to their 3 machine guns. So I've managed to open up quite a large section of ground here in the center and taken full control of this capture point. And now we are at 17-15 on the score, so starting to tick down our opponent's tickets. Also going to be bringing in my bomber now. Since these guys have been more or less cleared, I was hoping to be able to bomb this SIS-3, which is providing both artillery and AP support on the right side. And if that's out the way, then what I can do is actually charge up with this T-34 that's on the way. Currently this right side hotly contested. You can see all of the different vehicles here that have been killed. We've got a BA-20 there. There's obviously the Tiger that got killed by the IS-2. There's an M2A1 half-track. You can see Studebaker on the road. We've got a T-34-85. And Ares mode does end up surrendering at this point. I think on his side of things he was under a lot of pressure. Seems like he was taking up this point, and Music Man currently pushing very, very hard with his 5th Panzer. The Hussars getting into position nicely. Meanwhile, engagement's continuing on this left side. I've got my Tiger E currently engaging an IS-2, which wasn't a decent engagement for me. I tried to move him, but I think he got a critical that stopped me from doing so, and ends up going down to the IS-2. I've still got the Jagdpanzer on the left side that's been ambushing units, and we have been killing off some T-34s here and there as we continued. But I'm basically holding both of the contested points that I should be at this moment. It's a lot easier for the Soviet side to sort of defend this right hand side, so I'm not too worried about that. Although I am going to try and put some pressure on it. You can see that I'm bringing in multiple T-34s, and I really like T-34s for the attack because they are just so fast and mobile in general. Whereas a Tiger, much better for defense more than anything, just because, again, they're a bit slower. But you see my Tiger here just currently sitting in the trees, waiting for a target. Going to end up engaging the IS-2 here, but of course going to be bouncing off that front armor. Tigers versus IS-2s is something you generally want to avoid on the Axis side, because you just won't penetrate them. You're going to need to rely on something like a Panther G in order to get the job done, and obviously with the Gruppe Harteneck you don't have that choice, so the only other way you can deal with IS-2s is either the Me-410s, or you can try and just get close and maybe do it that way. My Me-410 though, it comes in, I tried to get a kill onto the T-34-85 as it did manage to kill my Hetzer, but my Me-410 goes down, and that was really sad because it's the only Me-410 that I actually had, so losing that really stung. Anyway, one of my Me-109 G6R6s did go for the kill onto an LA-7. Unfortunately it got so far that I just committed it to the kill, but since obviously there was plenty of AA, it did end up going down. And meanwhile on the right side, one of my infantry squads does get killed before it's unloaded, but I'm just going to continue to force my infantry to crawl across the open here and push towards these trees, because I reckon if I can get an infantry foothold in this tree line, then I might be able to contest the capture point as well. And they have more than enough tanks here at the moment to try and make that happen. And my opponent now starting to push these Shermans at me isn't too scary, since I still had Tigers available. I think I had another 2 Tigers still on my battle group at this point, as well as the Tiger E that you can see that is heading this direction. And that Tiger is not only going to provide command, but also a serious amount of firepower that can pop things like these M10s, like the Shermans, and the T-34s, of course. So a couple more Jagdpanzers just going to be taking up positions, using up their APCR to try and penetrate the front armor of the IS-2, but not really having much luck. Be very careful about those engagements. Do manage to get a transmission damage, but I'm not really going to expect any more than that unless the IS-2 does end up showing side armor. Pack 40 currently used up a lot of its shells. You can see all of its APCR and HE is used up at this point, so this Pack 40 has been doing well for us in helping pin down infantry and so on. But here we go. Panzer Grenadiers and the Hussars have managed to make it to the trees, and the conquest point is ours, which is really nice. LA-7 does come in with the bombs. I don't think it actually ended up dropping the bombs. There we go, Panzergren's going to find the Dozor squad, and we'll clean those up. Whilst my Tiger E continues to pop all of these tanks that were heading our way. You can see these Shermans getting killed off. My poor Charmer there. Just its valiant attempt to kill an IS. no, not really going to happen. But the T-34 going to get hit hard and forced to fall back, of course. And continuing to control this road with the Tiger does maintain that capture point. Now, I have lost the one in the center. Both of my infantry squads did get completely wiped out. There is an absolute ton of tanks here now. We've got a couple of these Shermans as well as the IS-2. There's a couple more Shermans here as well. So that's what the AI as well as HETZER are relying on to push me back. Because obviously since Ares has surrendered, all these Shermans coming my way are now AI controlled. So technically throughout this game so far we have had to deal with like 3 different players. Obviously Henry of the Valley with his aircraft, and then like the AI bringing in Ares Shermans on my side, and of course HETZER. And considering how I thought this division would struggle in the open, it's been doing relatively okay, but I think that's mainly due to the power of the Tigers more than anything. But I'm going to just force my way onto this ZIS-3 here. You see on the right side, shoot to kill from the Stug onto the M10, that was nice. And the T-34s are eventually going to kill off that AT gun as well. Stug 3 going to continue the engagement onto a second M10 here. My Stug 3 though does go down to that engagement. Still managing to control this point though, and teammates on the other side of the map are doing very, very well. Viper Revolution and Music Man made a lot of ground, and we're currently sitting 19 capture points to 13. Still 24 minutes until we win, so long way to go. We managed to kill off the second M10 with the T-34, so some decent trades there. And we see my bomber coming into the center. I was hoping to land a bomb that would just pin down this compound, and then I'd be able to push up some infantry. You can see I've got these grenadiers currently charging across the open. So bombs away. LA7 is coming in. That's going to be the AI once again, putting more resources into my side. Do manage to shoot it down though. The MU-109 G6R6 gets the job done. Not going to have to deal with those airstrikes anymore. Really nice Katyusha there. Does manage to find the kill onto one of my SDKZ 251-2s. But this is why I generally like these half-track mortars, is because they can move out the way quite quickly, and they are generally quite resilient to artillery fire. Because if that was like a couple of small infantry mortars, I reckon they both would have died. Ideally I should have moved them before they got hit by counter battery, but I had them all on queued smoke orders in the center, and you can see that's why the smoke was here. But HETZER not having any of that is going to try and get rid of my mortar support. But I have a new plan, and that is to bring in some more Hetzers, since this left side is coming under quite a lot of stress. Thankfully my command squad here is currently hidden in the windmill and managing to maintain control of the capture point. But the plan is just to have these 2 Hetzers move through the trees here and ambush the IS-2, and then clean up all of these Shermans, which they should be able to kill quite quickly, because they do have the 145mm base penetration without APCR. Now the AI is going to manage to get a rocket strike directly onto my Panzer Grenadiers, even though I don't think it could see them, which was odd, but classic AI. A lot of my units on the right side are being forced back because of the sheer amount of units that are heading my way now. So I'm just kind of in damage control, trying to hold my ground as much as possible. Got a couple Panzer IIs that were intended to move to the left side and help with the advance of Loud here, because he's currently pushing up a couple of Gvardia with the Avdomachiki and the Panzerschrecks, so getting a looks into position here would not be a bad idea to help slow those down. But here come my Hetzers sneaking through the trees. And this is what Hetzers are good for. They are like the perfect ambushing anti-tank. Well, yeah, tank destroyers, I guess. So we managed to get the kill onto the IS-2. You can see it was showing side armor. We pop it with the ambush from the Jagdpanzer, and now these Hetzers can clean up these Shermans nicely. Another one goes down there, and I'm just going to continue to engage those. My Grenadiers still being forced to march across the open and continue to crawl forwards regardless of the losses they're taking, as I did want to make sure that I captured this point regardless of my losses. And my Tiger E, well, it's still holding ground on the right side. My command Tiger E did a really good job here actually of killing off a lot of the Shermans, but of course the IS-2s remaining a problem throughout. My T-34s did take a little bit of a beating, but most of these burning units on the road are just a couple infantry that I hadn't unloaded, and the Panzer II Lux there, as you can see. There's also a Stug that's been killed. All of my T-34s though, they're still alive, and I'm actually having to send them back to an Opel Blitz because they used up all of their AP shells throughout the battle so far. I'm bringing up a second Tiger E to accompany the Tiger E Führer. And, well, these Reiterführer, I'm just going to keep them where they are. Since they're a small squad, I think they were actually hidden in the open. If Adagu didn't have any recon, I don't think he could see them. I'm actually curious just to check that, because he never fired at them throughout the game, so they managed to just hold that point on their own just by sitting where they are, and that's not even in cover. Anyway, same deal on the left side. Reiterführer managing to hold the point for me, whilst I have my Jagdpanzers in this position continue to engage the Shermans and try and pick those off. I am going to have to reload these at some point though. As you can see, they have used up all of their APCR and their AP shells are getting low. On the left side, Loud is making a big push. Jaeger has had his forces broken down slowly but surely. Look at the wrecks on top of this hill. All these Tigers that have been overrun slowly but surely as the T-34s came over the hill. You can see the story being told here. And now the T-34s continue to push forwards. Again, another couple of Tigers going down. It's just so damn epic. And I'm going to be trying to reinforce this side with a couple of Hetzers, and Jaeger's going to be relying a lot on his Stug 3s. So I did lose one of my Hetzers here. I have moved up the Opel Blitz though that was resupplying the mortar, just so that I can make sure that that can kill any more Shermans that head my way. But on the left side, Adagu advancing with Loud down the side of this river. I did decide to bring in a couple of Lux to kill the infantry, but of course there is the T-34-85s here, so those Lux really aren't going to last too long. I am still okay on the right side. I've got these T-34s that can just hide and kill things at close range, but both my Tigers have now died, the Tiger E Führer and the standard Tiger. The IS-2 is still causing me issues, and now the AI just going to be pushing me relentlessly with more Shermans. Jagdpanzers getting up onto the hill are now using their HE to engage infantry. I believe at one point I did actually turn off the HE shells just so that I could move them forwards without having to worry about them stopping and wasting their reload on infantry. But Jaeger now in a nice position to engage these tanks, and you can see one of them has already been taken out. It was actually the command tank. There is a second command tank though, so Loud doesn't lose the veterancy on his units just yet. The Stugs are doing well. Do manage to take out two of the T-34s. Now an ME-410 coming in as well. And Jaeger saves the day against all of those T-34s. So now once again I allow my Hetzers to open up with HE. They also have these machine guns, which are, of course, remote controlled. So it seems as though they can do quite a bit of damage against infantry and on the move, which is really cool. They don't have to face their target in order to actually kill it with machine guns. So that was awesome. Anyway, Katyusha's going to come in, try and kill the Jagdpanzers. But my Hetzers, they're moving too fast and do manage to kind of dodge the majority of the strike. I think one of my Hetzers does get forced to fall back. The other one's still moving into position, and my intention was to get on the edge of this hill and just cover any advance from future T-34s. But we pretty much blunted the push here, myself and Jaeger combined. And we're now controlling 22 points against the enemy's 10. So I'm still managing to control this point in the middle of the field. We've got this one on the left side just because my Reiterführer are hiding in the windmill, so I don't actually have many units actually controlling the objectives, but I'm managing to somehow cover things off. I've got a couple of Stugs. These are going to be taking position up on the high ground here and engaging the Sherman 5s that are in the open. The Sherman 5s here currently engaging my T-34s. One of them does get crew killed, so that's going to go down, and now I've only got one remaining. So these T-34s, they provided enough of a distraction to get my Stug 3s into position. And having done so, I've decided to start moving my commander backwards so that I can provide the extra veterancy onto these Stug 3s and basically just ruin all of these Shermans in the process. But here we have my Jagdpanzers now engaging these T-34 85s as they come over the hill. With the APCR shells, there's actually pretty decent chance of penetration against the T-34 85s. So that's kind of what I'm relying on here in order to win this engagement. But so far, no kills. But we have managed to start to make them fall back. And with those shooter knockouts, they're not firing back as well. So some decent criticals, which are saving the bacon of my Hetzers for the time being. Malloud really pushing hard with a lot of infantry here through the town, and it looks like Jaeger's struggling to hold on there. But we've only got to play for 2 more minutes, 2 minutes 45 seconds. So it's just a matter of holding the ground as much as possible. And that's kind of what I expected the game to play out like, obviously with the Vanguard deployment type. It's just I would have liked to have made a bit more ground in the early game, and I think a better strategy with the Tigers would have definitely made that happen. I've now got 4 Stugs on this hill, and they're all firing away at these Shermans down below. Look at all those smokes, all that smoke in the distance there. Absolutely incredible. A couple of bombs coming in from an LA. But with the high ground, there is not much that these Shermans can do. However, with 2 ISs arriving, things could change quite dramatically. If the ISs do get into range, then I would have to rely on close range engagements and push these Stugs maybe into the town in order to defeat them. But since there's only 1 minute and 35 seconds left on the clock, I'm just bringing in a bunch of infantry that can ambush with Panzerfausts if anything decides to rush down the road. Reiterführer, they've been there the whole game, do eventually go down. Also my commander, or my command squad in the center also went down. Eventually they got found by those Shermans of the AI which just charged towards them. But the one on the left side, absolute hero, still holding the point. And these Hetzers, well, they have managed to control this left side nicely. You can see that the T-34s that tried to push out did end up getting killed off. And all these T-34s that were on the hill have either fallen back or being killed as well. So we're secure on the left side. A little bit worried about the right side, but only 30 seconds left. Going to be bringing in my bomber just to maybe try and get some kills with that eventually. Also got my MU-109 G6 R6. Just going to be looking for the kill onto the LA. Actually, that was a lag 3. My ME-109 does get the job done. One thing that was quite nice about the ME-109 here was it managed to distract the AA enough that the bomber actually got off at least one of its bombs. But as it just lands there, you can see we do manage to get the victory. And that is that. 38 minutes and 20 seconds. Gruppe Harteneck managed to get the job done. Now, it was quite a brutal battle for myself. 3,785 kills to 3,760 losses. Music Man and Viper Revolution doing fantastically with the 5th Panzer divisions. I don't think this was really a good representation of how like Gruppe Harteneck would really work, or how you would probably try and use it, because I was designated an area which I don't think suited the range of Gruppe Harteneck. And coming up against like IS-2s, they're very, very difficult to deal with this division. So you're going to have to maybe build some more ME-410s into it in order to make it work. And I think if I was to make some adjustments to my battle group, it might be take out the bomber and add some more ME-410s with those cannons, because they are a really solid way of finding the side armor shots onto the IS-2s whilst your sort of weaker tanks almost distract them. So yeah, I think there was definitely things I could have done to improve in that game. But overall, I'm not sure the scenario really represented how I would have liked to use a Vanguard Gruppe Harteneck. And I think on a more enclosed map like Austria North, for example, and some of the 1v1 maps, this division can be extremely strong. Maybe not so strong in the large team games. That's obviously where the 5th Panzer really shines because of its availability of heavy armor. But there you have it anyway. If we jump over to the kills, this M10, this Tiger, it did okay. It didn't really pay itself off that well. A couple of M10s is 100 points. I mean, it's just over like 100 points really. So Tiger's 110 points at the moment. The Hetzers though, they do really well. They're really good value for money. They got only 60 points apiece, and killing 2 T-34-85s there. Well, just killing one of them pays itself off. So killing 2 is fantastic. It pays itself off like 3 times over. T-34 did manage to find the kill onto the ZIS-2. Killed a couple of M2A1s. But this ME-410, absolutely beautiful. Not only shot down the A20, but killed the IS-2 in the same run. And then came in later and killed a T-34-85. My ME-109 G6R6s also did well. Got 2 LA5 kills. 2 LA7 kills there, and a lag 3 between them, which is really, really good. Those LA7s, they do cost a lot. They're like 20 points more than an ME-109, so paid themselves off twice over. And I think if I hadn't have controlled the skies throughout this game, then I would have been in a much tougher position. Like, I didn't control it in the early game, but managing to control it in the mid game was very important, because otherwise I would have been overrun by the A20Gs as the game continued. My Tiger E-Fueler there, just picking off a few tanks. The Hetzers though really are stealing the show in this one. In terms of losses, IS-2 was a real pain in the ass, and you can see those IS-2s killing my Tigers quite nicely. There's also a T-34-85 there finding a kill onto one of the Tigers. But it is yeah, the IS-2 show on the Russian side really. And yeah, that's just because Gruppe Harteneck does struggle with them a little bit in those open range engagements. But that's it. Hopefully that's an interesting look at Gruppe Harteneck in a PvP scenario. Thanks for watching, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.